think what you would do is, hello?
Hello, I'm still on, yeah?
Yeah, so what I think you would do, since you have, I would like to share the slide yourself.
Okay, you want me to share the slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, share the slide and probably give me control. No, I don't think you need to give me control right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you
Well,
need to give
but
me
I can
control
give
right
you
now.
control for sure. Yeah, I can give you, but for now, I'll just have it.
Yeah, you just have it up there.
Yeah. Okay, well, what is going to happen is let me finish off on my introduction, and then I can share your slide.
Sure.
Okay.
That works.
So I actually had a question about the platform. Are you getting these messages? Hello? Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. So the
Are
message
you
you sent,
getting
I
these
got. Yeah,
messages?
I did get the messages. Yeah.
Okay. So
Where
it
you
is
ask
also
people to,
something
yeah.
you can interact with if you like.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure you know that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I see your message asking people to self-introduce themselves using the chat box, and then give some background about the industry where they are playing and what they would like to take away at the end of this session.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna display this first, and then we'll take it from there. I think we have somebody just coming.
Yeah. It's my thought device.
What is going on there? Hello?
So I have multiple devices on. That's why.
You can disconnect them from the audio. You can even disconnect them from the audio.
Sure.
That's what I did with my own device. I just disconnected it. But I can see what I'm displaying right now on the device. So this is the one where I wanted to give you the control. But once we start showing your slide, then I'll give you control. Participants. Okay, we have 2 attendees so far. Hello, good morning, Daniel.
Good afternoon from Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good from my side. I forgot that we're on different side, different ends of the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
How are
3
you
p.m.
doing?
in Lagos.
Nice. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, nice to have you here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Ifeanyi is also on the line, but I for now is on mute. Once we start, which will be pretty soon, definitely would have him, share his. Actually, we'll share his slide, and then we'll take it from there.
No problem.
Yeah,
I'll be waiting.
Okay. So, by the way, what's your profession?
I work as supply chain manager with Ecolab Nigeria.
Great. You having fun there?
Sorry?
Are you having fun there?
Not a lot of fun right now with the coronavirus
Oh
disrupting
yeah,
everything.
actually, because you guys are gonna be dealing with a lot of stuff that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
expedited. But I learned that everybody is kind of on lockdown now. Like they're not allowing people to go out.
In a way, that creates problem for me because we have a number of branches around the country, and you still need supplies because we don't close. We are part of the essential services people
Oh, I
that
see.
wouldn't close. So we have laboratories all around, and we need to keep them up and running
Oh yeah.
with supplies that presently are difficult to come by.
Wow.
So in itself, that adds to
The
the
challenge.
challenges I have right now.
Wow. Yeah, I could bet that a lot of people who are in supply chain are going through that right now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but yours might really be more because you are, really into the science stuff, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. I think we have Kenneth here. Let me see if I can chat with Kenneth. Kenneth Paul. So thanks, Daniel. We'll start pretty soon. We just want to make
Okay.
sure that we have a good number of
Okay.
people. Hi, Kenneth. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Kenneth. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how has it been going so far with the coronavirus disruption?
It's affecting everyone so far.
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks now, we've been working remotely, so
Okay. Yeah.
really slowing down operations for most of the businesses.
Oh, so it's the
Yeah.
new normal, right?
Yeah.
Oh. So, what industry are you in?
Okay. Basically engineering and renewable energy.
Oh, renewable energy. Okay, great.
Yeah, renewable energy and electrical engineering.
Electrical.
Yeah.
How is that going in Nigeria? Like, how big is that industry in Nigeria? Because renewable
Yeah.
energy is something that kind of.
Well, for the renewable energy, there is market. The market is very, very vast and large. You know, considering the constant power outage in the country so far, so it's actually another option for power to people. People are
Oh,
really keen into it. Yeah, a lot
yeah.
of people are into it. Yeah.
Okay. So I also learned that there's the upgrade thing going on. Like there's this policy from the federal government to allow upgrade power generation.
Yes. That is ongoing.
So that's probably what is driving what you guys are doing there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So very soon we'll be having others join us. But for now, I think it's just two of you that we have in here. We're expecting about 42 people, but you know what? With this coronavirus thing going on, at the point I was thinking, should we just postpone? But I thought, well, you know what? Everybody's kind of on lockdown at home. This is an
Yeah.
opportunity for us to actually engage. So, but we'll see how it goes. I understand there could be a lot of people coming in later, so that's fine. Okay, nice meeting you, Kenneth.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay. If I, hello?
Hello, I'm
Okay,
here.
okay,
Hello.
good. So I
Yes.
wasn't sure if you are still online.
I
Okay.
was, I am, I am. I was listening to the discussion on the renewable energy industry in Nigeria, and I wanted to mention that although it's actually at the nascent stage, but I think a lot of industry verticals are beginning to pick interest in it, especially with the new licensing that the federal government is giving to independent power project people, that is IPP.
Yeah.
So I think with that, there are going to be a lot of investment in that space. And of course, the investment cost is now dropping drastically because a lot of R&D innovations have happened on the photovoltaic industry, which is one of the major components to drive the solar side. So I'm sure that in the coming years, a lot of players will go into that space. And of course, looking at the fact that the price of oil is plunging every other day, so that would be an alternative.
Yeah. So yeah. Actually, some of these challenges that we have in Nigeria, I usually would think that is actually an opportunity. Of course, for those who have the resources to make things happen. Of course, not every one of us. So, but for those who are able to deploy solutions, it actually represents a lot of opportunity. Hopefully, if the federal government could put in policies that would encourage investments in those areas. So what we can do right now is I could go through my own introduction, and then just to have you start your presentation as soon as we can. I know we have 3 people now. We have Dolapo. Actually, Dolapo is joining from Canada here. She's a member of the Supply Jobs Canada group. So let me quickly do a brief introduction of myself and then what I do. So my name is Abiodun Oke. Of course, based here in Winnipeg, Canada. And I founded a group or a startup called Serial Projects Canada. Yeah, I would say Serial Projects is actually a dream that I've had a long time ago. I never worked on it because, of course, a lot of other things came in the way, like they say, life happens, right? So it's been something in the work for more than 10 years, just when I say in the works, in the dream world, okay? So, but when I came into Canada, I sort of got that inspiration to start all over again. I conceived this as an academic sort of a thing back in Nigeria. But when I came into Canada and I saw the challenges that a lot of immigrants, especially the foreign trained professionals, are facing here in Canada, I thought, okay, well, this might be something I could take on right now with my startup, and then we'll take it from there. But essentially, Serial Projects is a business process consulting services. The whole idea is to have a situation here where we could deploy resources on consulting basis to help organizations who are working on maybe things like the digital transformation that we're talking about today. Because what I have found out in supply chain generally is we're for the most part not well resourced in terms of both human, physical resources, otherwise, and it's an area where my startup is actually looking to provide resources in terms of experts who are basically specialists in these areas. As we know, we have a lot of talent, but despite not enough people who are skilled in specific areas to be able to address the challenges that we're currently facing as industries. Talking about what is happening to the coronavirus, which actually has thrown our spanner into the wheel of progress in so many ways, just like the other attendees were speaking about it, even in Nigeria, that is going on. So these are some of the things that Serial Projects is looking to address. Specifically right now, the problem that Serial Projects is working on, which actually is one of the reasons we're having this discussion, is that the foreign trade professionals in Canada usually will face this challenge where their experience is pretty much not considered to be equivalent to the experience of Canadians. So in a way, they are not able to get back into their career. They just would maybe doing some survival jobs or the other. So this is one of the problems that Sierra Projects has identified, and we're trying to resolve it, to solve, to provide solutions. We're providing solutions in terms of, well, the traditional approach of, you know, looking for a job, which pretty much is not effective for various reasons, especially if you are a foreign trained professional when your experience is not recognized. Also your qualification, of course, if it's not international, like you haven't gotten this from UK or from the US, well, pretty much you're starting from the scratch as a professional when you get here into Canada. So these are some of the things we're trying to resolve right now by providing, first of all, a platform where these people are able to use to actually demonstrate their experience and their qualifications. So regardless of what people think in the industry, you know, that they are able to actually demonstrate that with the knowledge and the experience they've garnered, you know, over the years in the industry, be it from their home country or here in Canada. The opportunity that presents is a situation where you are able to then network automatically with your colleagues here in Canada who are able to actually vouch, you know, for your you know, for your experience, that they can vouch that this guy actually know the stuff, and they could recommend you to their contacts in their own industry as well, which then is able to help you with those challenges that you may face here in Canada. So it's open. It's an open platform to anyone. This is called the Supply Jobs Canada. It is a platform that we're trying to build to have resources of all forms, be it in training, be in access to experts, be it even mentoring. So this month of January, we actually started the Innovation Month, where we are then discussing these disruptions that are happening through the technologies, all forms of technologies that you already know right now, like the AI, artificial intelligence, and all of that. So as part of our initiative in Supply Jobs Canada is to bring different experts who are able to actually speak to these things, how it is being implemented, and different type of insights that would help them also to upskill, or that would also help them to identify the different type of skill set that they may not need in order to adapt to the new industry that is emerging, which we call the Industry 4.0. So yeah, that has been a long introduction, guys. But for now, I would leave it to you guys to ask questions that would help us to be engaging with each other. This is not a place where we just want to push information. We would like to actually interact, to exchange information and bounce around ideas, and you know, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Without further ado, I would like Ifeanyi to introduce yourself, and then let's do the presentation, and hopefully in 20-30 minutes we could start with the question. But you could actually put in your question right now in the question and answer box there in Zoom. What you'd like to take away from this session, whatever challenges you're facing currently, if you are doing digital transformation in your organizations, what are the barriers? What are the challenges? If your organization is not embarking on search, what are those things that they see that are stumbling blocks for them? Why they're not currently seeking to do digital transformation? Those questions will be very, very helpful for us if you can put in those questions. Over to you, Ifeanyi, for now.
All right. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ifeanyi.
Okay. I think you need to give the screen over to me, so you can put up the slide.
Okay,
or you can put up the slide from your side.
Let me put it up from my side here just to make sure. Okay.
That's better. That's better.
Okay then.
All right. All right. So good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Ifeanyi. I'm a Nigerian. I'm in Nigeria right now. Just a quick introduction. I have my degree in computer engineering, and then I have actually been in procurement all my career. Basically focused on digital procurement. I've worked in about 5 industries in 7 countries and in different capacities. So I'm also learning a lot, and this is actually an opportunity for us to learn. I believe that there are a lot of knowledge out there for us to share. And I want to thank Abiodun for the opportunity for us to have this conversation today. This is a topic that, digital is something that everyone has been talking about. If you turn at every corner of the web, you're going to see something about digital technology and what is going on. And of course, procurement is not left behind. Procurement have also been talking about digital procurement. So we had to just shift digital to the left and then put procurement in between. So I think you can put in full display so we can move as fast as we can. So basically, I know a couple of us in the organization where we work, maybe we have an ERP we are using or some form of automation that has happened. Hello?
Yeah, can you have it in full display now, right? And you could take control. You could have control now.
Yeah, okay. So I think you should give me control so I can move this slide around. All right. Yeah. So excuse me.
Go ahead.
All right. So so like I mentioned, digital transformation is something that every organization is keen into today. And of course, like I mentioned, procurement is not left behind. Supply chain is not left behind. And the data is out there. Companies are investing millions of dollars into acquiring different digital technology tools.
Sorry to
hello?
Sorry to interrupt. We can't see anything on the screen.
Yeah, I thought it was on my side. Yeah, the screen is a bit blank. I was thinking maybe it's my own.
Okay, you know what? Let me try again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me do the presentation on the tool here.
Mode.
What about now?
Yeah. I think you put it in presentation mode, so.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes, I can see the screen.
So the other attendees, can you guys see it?
Yes, I can see this.
Okay, good. Yes. So if you actually have control, just move your mouse and you would have control of the presentation.
Okay, good. All right. So basically, I'm here to have this control. I have actually requested.
Okay, you requested
control. Yes, I requested. I think you need to approve from your side.
I can see your mouse is moving on this side.
Really?
Yeah, you have control already. I actually activated it for auto acceptance of any request. So I don't need to approve any request. It just accepts it.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure. I think let me give it up back and then take the control again.
Okay. Can you try to use your arrow keys and you would know if you actually have control or not?
Yeah, I actually have tried and it's not.
Okay. How about?
Maybe you just display on your side. I really do not need the slide just to put it up for everyone to see it. some piece of information there.
Okay.
So maybe you just take over the control, and then I can just ask you to move to the next slide.
Okay, I have it. Yeah, I got this.
I mean,
yeah.
it's supposed to be conversational. It's not a lecture. We are supposed to engage with our industry colleagues to understand what their experience have been and what lessons they've learned for those of them that have been part of a digital transformation project. And let me also put a caveat. So when I say digital transformation project, I'm not really talking about the big enterprise project like buying the huge ERP like SAP or Oracle or Sage. It could be a little bit as, your invoicing process. It could be as little as automating your quotation generation process. Those are all piece of digital transformation. So they all form part of the huge digital transformation. So, but again, we're going to look at how procurement has evolved. Basically, we've seen the evolution of procurement from strategic procurement, where there is now a streamlined focus to how we source for goods and services and how we manage suppliers. And remember that before the term procurement, they used to call them purchasing, right? And I understand from history that purchasing was left for the door guys in the organization. So if you're not going to be useful, they just push you to purchasing, basically like a clerk. That's what I understand. But over time, with situation happening, and again, with the current COVID-19 pandemic, I think the role that procurement and supply chain plays in our society and in our organization has now become more prominent. They have seen now that organizations are now basically depending on supply chain to survive. So this is how procurement have been evolving, and majorly the enablers of this evolution has been technology. Right, so technology has been the driving force for this evolution, from the strategic procurement side in the 80s, where the ERP started coming up, to when we moved to what we call the e-procurement, where there's now a couple of automation, couple of software tools like the SAP, the Commerce One, the mTools. A lot of them have also been acquired. Like the IBM mTools is no longer there. It used to be very popular in the early 2000s. And of course, till the early 2010, when digital technology became the mainstream. So we have the digital procurement, which is different from the e-procurement. So digital procurement is a bit further from mere automation. It goes further to apply, the disruptive technology that Abiodun have mentioned, the artificial intelligence, the big data analytics, the cloud computing, applying all of this into the procurement suite that we are using. That is basically what digital procurement is all about. A little bit step further from it is, moving from the siloed system. So siloed system means you have a different system that is dealing with your requisition. You have a different system dealing with your purchase order and contracts. You have a different system dealing with your invoicing and payment. And of course, you don't have visibility into the activities of your suppliers. And digital procurement is now moving it further to that collaborative platform. And we are calling it unified platform, in the sense that every player along the line is actually on that platform. So there is a seamless handshake between you as a buyer, a procurement professional, and your supplier. So you are able to see what your supplier is doing. You are able to see where your items are and all of that. So that is the phase where we are moving. And that actually have become even necessary. Looking at the pandemic issue we are having today, the uncertainty that most organizations are facing is the fact that nobody saw this coming, and nobody actually know what their suppliers are doing. You don't have visibility into the stock that your suppliers have. You don't even know what raw material they have. You don't, you just place your order and they tell you they will deliver in 6 weeks, and you just wait for the 6 weeks to receive your good. But digital procurement is moving a step further to unifying this relationship, and it's going to be unprecedented. Now, away from all these beautiful potentials, we have discovered from a lot of research from organizations like Bain and Company and McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, they have discovered that despite all the potential that digital procurement has, only 10% of organizations are really using the key technologies in procurement. You know, that is very, very abysmal. I mean, only 10% are using the key technologies. Yes, they may have a couple of automation here and there, but they really are not tapping into the potential that digital procurement can offer. And out of all the organizations that have actually keyed in, it's also very disappointing to know that only 8% of these firms have been able to achieve their targeted business outcomes from these investments. And this is a bit discouraging for those that are about to make an investment. I mean, learning that only 8% of out of 100% that have invested in digital technology, only 8% are reaping the benefit. It's a bit disappointing. And that is one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. One of the objectives of this engagement is to understand why do procurement transformation fail? Despite investing millions of dollars, despite buying all the best tools and the best technologies, why is it that organizations are not reaping the benefits and the impact that this digital technology promises? So that is one of the key highlights of our conversation. And hello, Abiodun.
Hello. Yeah.
Can you help me move the slide, because I don't know why I don't have control from this side.
Yeah, you want me to move it forward?
Yeah, move. Can you move it to slide 3? Just move it to 3. So
right there.
You know, I would like to. Yeah.
Backwards.
Great. To slide 3.
Slide 3.
Yes. That talks about the stages of digital procurement transformation.
Yeah, you have it.
Yeah, great. So basically,
sorry,
organization...
we're still seeing only the opening slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're seeing only the opening slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting, because I have the if I what can you see at your end?
Let me check. Yeah, truly, it's actually the opening slide that I can see right now. I thought it moved a while ago.
How about now?
Still the same.
Yeah, I think for some reason if I can you share this on your end? Let's see how that works, because for some reason
yes, I think you should. Yeah, I think you should then stop sharing your screen so that I can share from my side.
Go ahead.
Maybe that works. Okay, great. Just a minute here. Good. Can you all see the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you can see it right now, right? So this was the slide I talked about. You have a copy of this slide. I'll discuss with Abiodun if it's something that you might like to have, just so you can always go back to the discussions we've had. So, and of course, in the evolution of procurement, digital is the new wave. So whatever that is powering the movement, the transformation that is happening within the procurement organization is greatly being driven, largely being driven by digital technology. And but again, you know, you don't jump right into digital transformation. And again, we're going to come to a stage where we will see the pitfalls or the reasons, some of the misconception that organizations have around how to approach digital transformation, and how we as procurement professionals can actually guide our organizations right? So we can't be there in our organization and then they make investment in these tools and it's not working. So this is the reason why it's important for us to understand where we are. And I mean, having been part of large-scale implementation of digital transformation across the world, I have just seen that most of the time, the enthusiasm around, oh, we are going to go into digital transformation, we're going to buy a software, the concentration is just on the software. So organizations are not paying attention to understanding where are we, so which stage of this digital transformation am I currently? And a lot of industry experts have come together, and being the fact that they have been doing this digital transformation project for a couple of years, they have come together to understand that for every organization, you must belong to a certain stage. All right, so you must know the maturity level of your organization. So they come up with a 6 stage of digital transformation. There are other, school of thought that say, okay, it should be 3, collapsing 2 together into 1. But nevertheless, the whole idea of this is that these phases of your digital transformation is what will become your maturity blueprint. So you then know where to start from. Is your organization business as usual, which means you're just operating normal, using spreadsheets, basically depending on spreadsheet and emails to send out your RFQ. You're sending out your inventory data using a spreadsheet. You're updating it manually. And if you're at home, there is nothing that can happen. You're just operating business as usual. If you're at that stage, the approach you will use when you are going to invest in digital transformation is different. Now, if you're active, which means you're already, experimenting with some couple of software here and there, maybe you've got Sage, or you've got a software that helps you to invoice, you've got a software that helps you to, create a purchase order for your suppliers, or you've got a software that helps you to share your inventory update with your production team and with your sales team, a couple of, experimentation here and there, you also would be able to know that this is where you are and this is where you need to go. So there's usually this issue of trying to know your current state versus your future state. So if you jump right into digital transformation without a clear understanding of the maturity level of your organization, then there is likely, there is a likelihood that you might get it wrong. That organization might get it wrong. No matter how beautiful, no matter how how great the tool you are going to invest in going to be, whether you're buying the best, because sometimes, I've been part of a certain software, we get Oracle here, and then another organization is saying all the wonderful things that they could get from Oracle, and another organization is complaining that Oracle is not giving them anything. And then we begin to wonder, what is the issue here? And then we discover that they are really applying this tool at the wrong time without checking their maturity level. So this, not to be academic, but you get to the strategic, the converge, and innovative. Innovative is obviously you're on top of your game. You have everything planned out, and all you are doing is just continuous improvement. And I think that is where every organization should target to be. But you must move from one stage to another. So you cannot be making the kind of investment that an organization that is at converge is making if you are at present and active, for example. But along the line, we are going to see, the steps you should take in determining where you are as an organization. And basically, the key takeaway from here is that digital procurement transformation is a journey and not a destination. So I hear people say, look, I hear organizations, even some of them that I'm presently consulting for will tell me, we need to go live in 6 months. Can you make this happen? And I just smile because, telling me you want to go live in 6 months doesn't mean that you'll be digitally transformed in 6 months. And I think that is one thing that's one thing that should be a key takeaway for us. When your organization are giving you deadline, we need to go buy the software, you need to really explain to them how to go about it. Yes, you can go live in 6 months, but are you going to be able to read the potentials of those tools? So that's the key takeaway from here. And I'm going to skip this slide. This is just the implementation use cases. And I have actually used different colors to tell you those that worked well, those that were a mess, and those that also was just in between. When you go to LinkedIn, you go to the software vendors, they will only tell you the stories of the organizations that worked well, right? They will never tell you how they failed. They will never tell you how the implementation went south. But, this is an opportunity for us to really learn from our mistakes, right? So instead of just singing the praise, we're going to learn from our mistakes. And I put a caveat there that, it is not the technology that failed, but the approach and the processes. But I'm going to talk about that much later. I'll be making reference to each of these project cases as we go along. So now we talk about the might of digital procurement transformation. There are a lot of misconceptions around digital procurement transformation. It's a buzzword. The CIOs are saying it, the CFOs are using it as though it's just something that you bring out from a box and use. And most of the reasons why the transformation fail or organizations are struggling to derive benefit from the transformation project is because of some of these mites. Right? So, and I'll just leave us with the word of Albert Einstein that says that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking with which we created them. And that is it. If you're going into a transformation journey, you have to go with the thinking that will enable you to achieve the full business outcome of that project. And what are these misconceptions? They tell you deploy the technology and find the skills later. So, and I'm going to go back one step, and that was what happened in this when we deployed SAP for a certain for a Fortune 500 biotech firm based in Switzerland. And what happened was that, they just come up and say, look, we need a tool that can help us create PO, that can help us send out contract, that can help us receive invoice, that can help us plan our, forecast without really putting together a qualified team, So they go first with the technology, and then they discover that there are no people that could actually use that technology. They don't have the right crop of skills to actually drive, that technology, the operational use of that technology. So that is the number one might, and it is very popular. It's very common everywhere. And then some of them can also tell you that, might number two, let's set up an agile team, and that will be enough, So they just pick some people they feel that are tech savvy, this guy is always talking about technology, he's always talking about software, and then they just put together a couple of teams, and then they say, go ahead and deploy. Those people, they have the technological know-how, but they don't understand the process. So they are going to layer a good technology on a very faulty process, right? And they tell you if the foundation is broken, there's really nothing you can do. And that is what happens in might number two. And then you see organizations struggling to when they go live, and most time when they get to the testing stage, they discover that this is not working. And one thing I need to let us know is that you're going to hire a third party, most likely a partner to the OEM or a consulting firm to come and help you deliver this technology. They will come and deliver the technology, they will install, they will go live, and they're going to hands off. You as a procurement professional, you will become the operator. And then you're going to be approaching your organization with complaint, saying, hey, this is not working for me. And you're going to say, hey, why would you say that this is not working for you? And then at that stage, you need to really justify why the technology they have invested in, you are thinking that it's not working, and it becomes an issue. And might number three, they tell you digital technology is enough to transform the procurement process. It is a big lie. The technology is not enough. But as we go along, we will see what else you need to be able to transform the procurement process. And the might number four, they will tell you to succeed, you need to invest and go out there and buy all the technology that you have, especially if you're an organization that is that has a very good liquidity. You have a lot of money. I've also played roles in organizations that have a lot of money, and then they just say, you know what, we are budgeting $10 million for this. Go ahead and get it. It's not going to help you succeed. And then without knowing your maturity level, you're acquiring all sort of technology that your organization is not matured to use. And you discover that you have these technologies, but people are not using it, or they are not using it to the full potential. And it goes hand in hand to say you can spend your way to leadership. That is not true. That you are that you have the highest budget doesn't mean that the transformation is going to make you a market leader, for example. You have to invest correctly by knowing where your organization maturity is and following through the proven process, the proven strategy, the proven roadmap that you need to follow to drive the digital transformation. And then we look at the pitfalls, the pitfalls of digital transformation. This is the reason why most transformation projects fail. I have been part of 2 transformation projects that failed, right? And I mean, it's complete failure. I'm not going to lie to you. It's complete failure. And these are the reasons why it failed. The fact that the organizations are concentrating on the technology. You know, they are not building the foundation, because culture is one of the things that can drive adoption of any technology and tool. If you have people who are already used to status quo, they are used to using their spreadsheet, they are used to sending emails all the time, you know, you are telling them that they need to log in somewhere to put their request, when they simply send an email to say, look, I need 500 laptops, or I need to run this marketing campaign, and then you just go. And then you're telling them to go into a tool that you didn't even discuss with them ab initio. You know, that is one of the reasons why technology transformation fails, because the people are not carried along, the culture is not taken care of. You know, the team you're putting together are not really cross-functional that could, you know, get the buy-in of every player along the value chain. And one of the most common one that I've also seen is where organizations hire the wrong leadership. You know, they say leadership is everything. You might have the right tool, you might have a very fantastic process, but if you don't have, you know, a leader that is, you know, savvy in terms of technology and in terms of process, that is also able to manage people and is also able to manage change, that transformation is most likely going to fail, because you need the right leader, you need a skilled team to be able to live and drive the transformation. And driving that transformation is where procurement people come into play. Organizations today, before they hire, most of the time they want to see your ability to really drive transformation. Maybe they already have the plan to make some investment in technology. They don't want to bring in someone that is not going to be able to operationalize those technology and bring out the potentials that are in them. So that is also where we need the reskilling and upskilling, and we're going to talk about that much later. And another one is over concentration on the selection of the procurement. So the organization is just focusing on how do we select the software. Let's go and buy SAP. Let's go and buy Coupa. Let's go and buy Oracle. You know, let's go and buy Sage. Whatever tool they know about, they don't even, you know, they didn't look at the processes. Does this align with our process? Is this fit for purpose? There are a couple of, you know, discovery questions that need to have been answered before you go on to select your tools and software. So less attention is also paid to talent and process reengineering. So you are buying a software that nobody knows how to use. You're buying a procurement suite that people will be trained only 2 weeks after go live, which is a very common thing and which is a wrong approach. And then you want that tool to be able to deliver the potential. It's one of the pitfalls, and it's something that needs to be corrected. And it is we, the procurement professionals, that need to drive that change. And we need to really know it before we can drive it. And of course, excessive focus on cost savings. So when organizations are going into transformation journey, one of the things that they normally, on top of the board is, well, this is going to help us save X amount of money. And they don't look beyond the cost savings. Now, the cost savings will always come out. It will always be there. But when the focus is so much on cost savings, there is bound to be errors. There's bound to be decision mistakes in selection of the tools and in getting the right people that will drive the transformation. And of course, the final one, which is also the climax of the causes of some of the failures, is poor change management framework, which also ties into the first pitfall there that talks about you know, failure to build the foundation. So in terms of organizational culture, you know, you need to drive change. People need to know why you are, bringing these tools, they need to also be properly trained. They need to be workshopped, not actually trained. Training is actually something that we are taking out of the conversation now. They need to be proper workshop before you even get into these tools. So everyone is enthusiastic. Everyone is expectant that, okay, this is what we are going to do. And, they key into that vision and they are able to drive it for you. And of course, you need agile skill team that is able to turn around the project seamlessly. Now, in all of this, it's important to also look at, how do we make sure that we are not victims of some of these pitfalls. And as we discuss this, I want you to keep your questions. I think there is a Q&A tab up there. You should make use of the Q&A tab to put in your questions. But at the end of the presentation, you will also have opportunity to speak up and ask your questions. But we're going to just look at the final phase, which is what approach can we really use to drive an impactful digital transformation? What really can we do? And I have come up with what I call a 7-20-10 principle. It was an outcome of my postgraduate studies. Basically, my focus was how to drive impactful digital procurement transformation. And based on my experience and based on articles out there, based on other industry experience and standards, I have discovered that this might be, one of the impactful process we can follow, the principle that we can follow to be able to successfully go through the digital procurement transformation journey and derive full benefit from it. Now, I call it the 7-20-10 principle. So 70% of your time should be focused on the first three items you're seeing there. So I mentioned here that organizations are over concentrating on the selection process. That's one of the pitfalls I mentioned here, over concentration on the selection process. But look at where that's coming here. So only 20% of your time should actually focus here. And of course, 10% after you go live. But let's just look at how this works. So I talk about the visioning. You need to start with visioning. You need to define, you need to have a digital procurement strategy. If you are in a procurement organization, a supply chain organization, you need to take this up. You must have a digital supply chain or digital procurement strategy in place. That will become the blueprint with which you will drive the transformation. And it will become a game changer for you if you introduce that well ahead of time. And when you have this strategy, you also need to have the roadmap. The roadmap simply tells you how you will go about it, right? What are the steps you need to take to deliver on it? And when are you going to do it? So roadmap will tell you what, how, and when. So it makes the vision very clear. That is when you can start saying, okay, in 9 months, we would have gone live on phase 1 of our P2P or something like that. So you vision it and people could see where you are going to, and it's easy for them to also tap into that vision. And secondly is the digital literacy and talent of the future. When you're building this vision, you need to note that the talent you need in the future is different from the talent you have today. And why that is important is that without the right talent, you would not be able to achieve a successful transformation journey. Yes, you're gonna definitely go live. Not a problem. The supplier, the partner will make sure they collect their money. They invoice you, and then they leave you with the tool that will not give you the best. So you need to make sure that you check the digital literacy of I'm talking about the procurement people. I'm not talking about the whole organization now, because the visioning is supposed to come from the procurement team, the supply chain team. Are you digitally savvy? Do you have skills in data analytics? Do you know what it means to have an AI-powered system, for example? You need to know the basics. And this is where the talent of the future come in. And like Abiodun said, sometimes a lot of professionals are unable to fit in, especially in new environments, because there are some tools, there are some skills that are missing. and most of them borders on digital literacy skill and of course people management skill. So you might be very good in procurement process, supply chain process, you technically sound in terms of procurement and supply chain background, but that is no longer enough. So you need to actually upgrade yourself to be able to show that you can deliver the vision that an organization will have. And then the next and one of the most important stage is the diagnostics. So we talked about we talked about the stages of digital transformation. So this is the time that you will come and look at your organization, measure your organization, assess your organization to know where is your maturity. Where are you? Are you business as usual? Are you active already, or what is your stage? What stage are you in the transformation journey? Are you already strategic already? And what are the next things that you need to do? So that will enable you to realign your current state with the future state. So current state is where you are today as an organization. Do you have the right data to drive the conversation? Because without the right data, there's going to be a lot of outliers. There's going to be a lot of wrong decisions. Today we say data is the new oil. Data is the new power. Data is actually the driving engine, the engine box of whatever we are doing today. So you need to be able to understand where you currently are based on the data that you have, based on the processes that you have. And then with that, you can then build your future state. Your future state is simply where you want the procurement organization to be digitally, say in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. Whether you're still there in that organization or not, but you have to be able to put that in place. And of course, a part of that assessment will enable you to establish your readiness. How ready are you culturally? Are the people ready to go through this transformation? And in the midst of all of this process, workshops need to happen right here. Workshop like a town hall. You need to put together people and talk to them already. Share the vision with them. Because what I notice is that most organizations wait till here. When they're about to implement, they just write to group heads or head of department and say, look, give us one of your resource. We need to implement this. And then they are all struggling to understand why they need to be part of that process. And sometimes you get some resistance from some senior leadership because they don't understand the vision, and the vision is not coming to them early enough. So there are a couple of workshops that need to happen here, a couple of stakeholder engagement that need to happen at this stage before you go on to say, I'm going to buy SAP, I'm going to buy Oracle, I'm going to buy Coupa, I'm going to buy Zacos or Jaga or whatever tool out there that works. All these need to happen. And with all this information, you are able to then know, okay, there's a skill gap. These are the trainings that the procurement people or the IT people or the process management people need to go through so that they can give their maximum support in the transformation journey. This reskilling and upskilling must happen before you go into implementation stage. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of limitation. There's going to be a lot of barrier. Most times the barrier is because of knowledge gap. Not because the people are not willing, but because they don't know it. And they just don't know how to provide the support based on a knowledge that they don't have. So they are supporting you based on limited knowledge. They are supporting you based on the limited skills that they have. And that is why you need to reskill and upskill the talent pool before you go into implementation mode. And of course, your processes. In part of my research in the UK focused on how most transformation fail because the process inherent in that organization is faulty. So if you layer a good technology on a faulty process, that technology is going to deliver either suboptimally or it will fail. And it is not the technology that truly fails. It is your process that fails the technology. And that is why process engineering is key. You need to look at your procurement process. You need to look at your supply chain process. You need to look at your inventory process, your warehousing process. You need to look at your process for tracking, for planning, for forecasting. You need to look at that. If you're doing a monthly forecasting, will that be sufficient for you? Do you need to change to weekly or on-the-go forecasting? So you need to make sure that your process is truly re-engineered and aligns with the technology that is in market. Otherwise, you are going to select a technology that might not be fit for your process. So process re-engineering is very key. And of course, it is also a product of the maturity assessment that will let you know that, look, my process is 10 steps backward. We need to step it up before we can then layer a technology on top of it. And of course, before that, you go into your implementation. So this implementation, before you even talk about assessing the digital platforms that are available, before you invite the vendors, you need to also have an implementation governance and support framework. Governance is simply how you want to go about implementation. Do you want to face it? Do you want to go all at once? What are the priorities? Are there quick wins? Because sometimes when organizations are releasing funds for you, they want to begin to see results tomorrow. So you are not going to tell them, look, you need to wait till 5 months or 7 months before you start seeing what we are doing. Don't worry, hold on. They are not going to hold on for you. So you need to also look at, what are the quick wins? What are the things that we can do right now that the organization, the leadership, will understand that there is something in it for everyone. That way they can support you all the way. That needs to happen before you even go into the implementation mode, right? And then, of course, the assessment, you need to have a proper RFP process for assessing multiple platforms. So I always advise clients that I've worked with or I've consulted for that, you need to shortlist a pool of technology. Currently, within the week, I helped a financial institution in Nigeria to assess about 3 different suites that they are looking for a supplier performance management platform that is basically going to focus on how they will be, assessing their supplier and managing risk in view of the whole pandemic that is happening. They discovered that a lot of their suppliers are failing them. Some of them don't even have any business continuity plan, and it's impacting their operation. So they now want to proactively, monitor their supplier performance and be able to track the risk with each supplier and, of course, mitigate it. So they were already talking about just one. So I said, no, don't go for one. You need to evaluate a couple of them. You have to develop evaluation criteria with which you can then select the best fit. And, of course, after the implementation has happened, you need an ongoing support. And how to best get your ongoing support is by making sure that your talent of the future are on ground. The operators, the procurement professional operating the tool have the right knowledge. They have the skill set to be able to provide both technical and functional support. Otherwise, your business partners are going to try to use these tools. It doesn't work because they don't remember how to log in again. They don't remember how to look for items in catalog. They don't remember how to submit. You need to be able to provide that technical support, first level support to them. It's not that every time there's an issue, you are waiting for the OEM, you are waiting for the partner. That is one of the ways that the adoption of the tools will drop. That is why you need to have these skills. You need to be analytical or have these analytic skills to be able to see what is happening based on available data. And of course, you need to also have a means to track and capture the value, that you're generating from the transformation. You need to be able to show a return on investment. And one of the findings from research across board is that a lot of organizations don't actually track the value that is being generated by the transformation. So they just move on. Everyone just move on, and they've gone live. So, nothing is happening. Nobody knows whether they are deriving the benefit or not. They don't know whether it is being utilized or not. There's no means to track. So it is important that there's a measure, there's a framework to track and capture the benefits that is being generated by this. And there are a lot of frameworks out there that, different research institutes are developing. And a bit of my research also centers on having a framework that you can use to track the benefits that is being derived from your transformation. That way you will know whether you are getting optimum use from your investment, or if something is wrong, you can actually track it and continuously improve it. And based on experience, organization here, the 2 organizations you can see in green here, followed the 7-20-10 methodology. And that was why the implementation was very successful And apart from that, you know, they are deriving full benefit from it. And I believe that because a lot more organizations are adopting the 7-20-10 principle and they are seeing the value, I believe that it's a way to go. And I believe that it's something that we, the procurement professional, can introduce to our organization or to our clients, as showing them that we have a disciplined approach to the digital procurement transformation. And once these strategies are clearly, you know, defined, everyone key into it, and you have the right people on board. Remember, I keep talking about people, because without people, the technology and the processes will fail. You need people to operationalize it. You need people with the right skill set to drive it. You need people that are up to date with the current trends in technology with respect to digital procurement to be able to deliver, you know, the purposeful tool that the organization has invested in. And a lot of focus is going to be on people in the coming decades. And the focus is going to be in two folds. The focus will be organization-driven and self-driven. And based on research by a lot of firms out there, they have already, based on budget can also talk to that. I've seen, even where I work currently, organization-driven upskilling accounts for only 20% of whatever skill you want to acquire. So the rest 80% is left for the procurement people to upskill yourself. And there are a lot of tools out there now that can help you get the tools. And of course, with what Serial Project is doing, you know, those are also platforms that you can take advantage of to upskill yourself so that you are, you know, among the talent of the future that will be able to play in every facet of digital procurement transformation. I think that will be it for now. I will take your questions, your comments, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thanks so much, Ifeanyi. That is awesome. I actually like the fact that you talked about your implementation, the past implementation, because you know the title really is also about lessons learned, right? And you spoke to that because sometimes, you know, when we go into a lot of the technicalities, the technology, and all of that. Tying it to what we actually learn on a particular project kind of drives it home. The need for all those, you know, the blueprinting and all those things you were able to speak to today. So I actually have sent a message to those who are still in attendance to please ask questions. This is the way we could really get value from this session. Is to provide questions. And like I said, there is no question that is stupid. Basically, every question is welcome. So Daniel, I will open the mic for you that you can talk. Daniel is raising up his hand there. Hello, Daniel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hi,
hello.
Daniel.
Yeah. Hi. Fine. Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. Just a few comments and then a question. In my experience in Nigeria, I mean, you talked about the difference between e-procurement and digital procurement. Now, a number of constraints are very apparent. So take, for instance, before you talk about even the most minimal implementation of ERP you have, by the time you are going beyond the borders of your company, you start to wonder which suppliers in Nigeria are able to, you know, raise their game technologically to be at par with you. Because if you're talking about any form of interlinkage, you talked about viewing the stock level of your suppliers, you're going to need them to also make some investment in technology. Most of the time, the realities on ground, as far as Nigeria is concerned, make that impossible. Then again, you look at situations where even for companies who are able to make, who are financially able to make some of the investments that are required, they look at the volume of your business that comes from your company, and they are not really interested. I mean, it doesn't justify some of the investment. Now, I don't claim to have all of the knowledge or all of the information regarding what is available or what the cost of going digital is. I'm hoping you can throw more light on that. And you also talked about, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm taking notes. Yeah.
Yes, you also talked about having a strategic plan for digitalizing your procurement or supply chain department. Now, a lot of us, as you rightly mentioned, have spent a lot of time. Acquiring technical and operational knowledge. Now, if you're going to develop a plan for digitalizing your procurement department or your supply chain department, you're going to have to develop capacity for that. I mean, I can't have a plan for something I'm not aware of or something I'm not good at. You know, I can read up a lot of stuff that people are doing, how people are going digital and all of that. But sometimes all of that information can become overwhelming, and you are not able to articulate really what is your immediate need, and overall you don't have the expertise to do it. That's just the long and short of it. So it's good to know that we have procurement and supply chain professionals like you who are in this. I think that most of the time people may eventually need consultants to create that kind of plan for them. I don't know if you agree with me. And regarding upskilling, it would be interesting to know what Sarah project, I don't know if that's the name now, Abiodun mentioned it earlier, his company in Canada. It would be nice to know more about what Sarah project offers for upskilling procurement and supply chain professionals. That's it for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Ifeanyi. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks very much. Okay. I see another question from Ken. So let me address yours. So I know that there is a peculiar issue from. Okay. So the industry verticals have its own challenge. As you go from industry to industry, they have different challenge with respect to technology maturity, and of course, one of the challenge they have also is funds, like you mentioned in Nigeria. I mean, I can count a couple of SMEs who are your suppliers that can actually invest $100,000 US, for example, to acquire a tool, right? So that is a challenge that I cannot sweep under the carpet. However, there are now tools that you as an organization, the big player, are now having what we call the supplier side. For example, for a financial service organization that we help deploy Oracle for, they have the supplier side of the Oracle. So because they know that the suppliers cannot probably fund a typical software like that, so they are building, that's why we call it a unified platform. So if you are advising your organization or that of your client, you should look at a unified platform that can allow you onboard your suppliers into that platform. So your supplier will simply supply you with data from their end. They need to submit any invoice, they need to submit inventory, they need to submit it from their side, from backend. So you can view it, you can make comments on it, you can query it. All right, so that is actually how that challenge is being overcome today. So not necessarily that every other SME out there would have to go and automate their process. They probably might not be able to afford it, or they have not seen the need to do that. But this is the way that is being happening. I'm very sure that with time, everyone who doesn't transform will be left behind. That is the truth. And for some organizations that have done this transformation, I know back then, I worked for a pharma company about 8 years ago. When we were going live on Sage, we said we're not going to, apart from that, they were submitting quotes hard copy. They bring the quote to you on your desk. I was like, this is not going to happen. To even create an email, some of them were like, no, why would you be creating an email? Please, I need to bring it and be sure that you have it in your hand. So, but over time, we stopped inviting those that refused to create an email. So they were forced to also go digital. Or either they go to cyber cafe or they had to go. So that is how we also need to trigger the transformation. So we must influence our suppliers to at least adopt some level of technology based on their maturity. So we must herald that transformation as well on their side. Now, talking about the digital strategy that you mentioned, you mentioned about how do you draft a strategy for something you don't know about. Yes, that is why, of course, the reskilling and upskilling need to happen first. And, I talked about the one that is self-led. 80% of the reskilling and upskilling is going to be driven by you. All right. So if you wait for your organization to do it, you might not get the best. They will do it, but not to the extent that will enable you to stand out. Probably they will do it only within the task that you're handling for them. For example, I don't see an organization sending you for data analytics training if you're a buyer, if what you buy is raw material. So then you're like, what do you need data analytics for? All right. So those are the things you need to do because you're looking beyond your present position. And you need to make that investment on yourself to be able to get that skill. Then, of course, a lot of consulting firms like the KPMGs and the PwCs and the McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, those guys are Roland Berger, those guys are specialists in developing strategy for you, right? But why I need procurement people to also be competent in this area is that when someone brings a strategy for you, it's going to be lengthy. I don't know whether you've seen a target operating model. When a certain consulting firm delivered theirs for me in 2017 for a project I want to handle for another bank, it was 160 pages of, so I'm looking at the slide and, where do you start from? And why they are doing it is, I don't want to berate them, but sometimes it's because they want you to know that they've worked for their money. So, but if you're part of the process that is developing that strategy, you will be able to know what to look out for. When they come for a closing meeting, when they are done with their fantastic PowerPoint presentation, everybody will just clap their hands and say, you know what, we're going to be digitally transformed in 6 months. These guys have finished it. But if you understand the strategy and the visioning, you will be able to ask the right questions. Yeah, no matter how bogus they want to put it, you'll be able to take them back and say, look, how does this become operational? Because remember, these things are going to be in paper. I am very interested in how you operationalize this strategy. Otherwise, it's going to be an academic exercise that will be fruitless at the end of the day. So how do you operationalize it? How do you ask the right question? It's by, learning how to do this. And of course, again, there are tools out there. There are platforms out there that enables you to now learn these things. And even Google Search can give you samples of strategies that other organizations that have done and they put their own in public can have. And what was your last question? I think I lost track.
I think he asked a question regarding Syria projects activity.
I want to mention that
you were able to help with that. So I'm sure you know already that Syria project is a startup. So I can begin by telling you that what we are trying to do is to develop a business model that actually addresses these issues. My experience in procurement and in supply chain management generally, I've seen a situation where the professionals are just seen as resources to be used, and to be disposed at the time that they want. Look at what is going on right now with the pandemic. As of today in Canada, you see that about 1 million people have been, disposed already. Like they've lost their job, they've been laid off. So I wouldn't say it's only the procurement professionals that are experiencing these issues. Pretty much is the way that organizations are sort of, positions nowadays is just about driving for profit, and it's not about investing in their, these talents that they have brought on board. So what we are trying to do here is to actually build a business model that is serial projects that will be sustainable in actually developing the talents and the skills, specifically in the area of supply chain and project management for now as it is. So what we are doing right now, that is actively addressing this, one of those is really what we're doing right now, this session. And but there is a platform that I'm actually building as well. I showed you the Supply Jobs Canada platform. It's Supply Jobs Canada platform, but it's open to anyone who is interested in learning, actually engaging with resources that could help you with future skills, because this is really what this is all about. There's a particular channel we call the Innovation Month channel, where I work with other supply chain professionals. It's an ongoing project where we're actually identifying experts. We're actually building we're gonna do it. We hope to put out actually a white paper on these things to actually identify the skills of the future. When I see what is going on with this pandemic, it also buttresses a lot of the things that we talk about, because the whole point of what we're doing right now is actually about the disruptive technology. But when you look at what this pandemic is actually doing to supply chain right now, then it sort of confirms to us that this needs to happen. Like, we need to really take this thing into our own hand. We don't need to wait for these organizations to tell us what we need to, because they haven't figured it out. And if we're waiting for them, it's not going to happen. Talking about professional associations as well, that is also one of the reasons why we're trying to build this solution, because we've seen also that the professional associations are also driven for profit. They are not really focused on helping the professional to develop. It's what I've experienced here in Canada, is what I've seen in Nigeria as well. So what we are doing is new. The only solution that we've brought up right now is actually having a platform where we can interact with each other as professionals. We know where we're struggling, and we can also get the help of some resources amongst us. Basically, someone like Ife, who actually has seen all of these things and has this experience, we could use that experience, and that's why we brought up this type of session today. So a lot of this is going to be happening. If you want to follow Serial Projects or the Supply Jobs Canada group, it's all on the social media out there, and I'm also going to share some of the handles, maybe in a mail that I send out to everyone who is in attendance, even those who are not in attendance. If you would like to follow what we're doing and you would like to be a part of the group, yeah, you're welcome. I hope that help answer your question, but I think you can move on with answering Kenneth Paul questions there.
Yeah. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Kenneth asked that we should explain what blockchain technology is and how it relates with procurement, right?
Yeah. It talked about big data analysis. Pretty much what it is and how does this relate to procurement.
Okay, excellent. So I would start by giving you just a layman definition, or rather how blockchain technology works. Basically, I will just give you a history. So today, if you order for a raw material, say from China, basically you issue them a purchase order, for example, say Adams Pharmaceutical for a raw material. You issue them a PO, you pay them advance or something. Of course, they will tell you, okay, your item will ship on the 12th of April, for example. And then when that item ships on the 12th of April, maybe it's going to be shipped to a broker. They don't want to ship directly to you. So you need to contact a certain broker somewhere in, say, Sweden for handover before it will now arrive in Lagos. Now, all of those activities is happening in silo, right? So there is no traceability in terms of knowing exactly what is happening with your raw material. So if your raw material gets to Sweden and is tampered with, you won't be able to know, right? So what blockchain does is to bring a decentralized ledger where all transactions will happen seamlessly. So you have visibility end to end across the block. So that's why they call it a blockchain. So from the raw material, how it is manufactured in the factory, to how it is shipped, to the handling, you are able to see every party playing a role along that value chain. So it is not like, oh, someone has picked it up, or, that's just a typical layman explanation of how it works. But most importantly these days is the issue of visibility. Look at what is happening with the pandemic, for example, right? So you want a fast turnaround for a manufacturing, for example, but you don't even understand what is happening at their site. You don't have visibility to what is going on in the factory floor, what exactly is your own specification, what stage of production is it. Blockchain enables you to have visibility into end-to-end processes. And one of the things is that it can be tampered with. So the issue of fraud is also one area that blockchain is coming to deal with, where people can alter invoices or all sort of fraudulent activities around invoicing in particular. Blockchain is coming to deal with that, because blockchain, you don't need to submit an invoice. You don't need to create any purchase order per se. The blockchain will take care of each of those transactions. Only that people will have to agree, and every person playing in that chain will have a certain key, a unique key, that like you have your password, for example, that enables you to authorize a transaction. So if somebody is going to commit a fraud, it means that everyone has to agree to that fraud. If someone is going to alter an invoice, if someone is going to alter any content or anything, it sends an alert to everybody. That is not possible in your typical ERP. Someone can go back end. In fact, I've had a situation where there was a loop somewhere in an organization, and someone sent a purchase order. In Nigeria, I'm not talking about abroad. In Nigeria, someone sent a purchase order worth millions of dollars somewhere, and then they invoiced and they paid because of loopholes. Now, there's also a recent case that happened in the US military, where people were issuing contracts to themselves, to organizations that they are affiliated to. Now, ERP cannot track that, but if it was on a blockchain, it is easy to track that this organization is affiliated, because it will first of all collect every information about that organization and link it to several databases. So it's easy to track and stop a lot of fraudulent activities happening within procurement space with the aid of blockchain technology. And of course, a company called IBM is leading the pack in that area. They are doing a lot in blockchain. They are doing a lot in big data analytics. In fact, they are almost on top of it. There are also a lot of startups out there that you can research that is playing in blockchain technology with respect to procurement. Now, talking about big data analytics is the talk of the day, truly. And data is the new oil. And if you look at the volume of data that procurement or supply chain people are generating, you can see that it is skyrocketing, all right? And you discover that today, organizations want a very fast time to insight. That's the word, time to insight. So how fast can you take a decision? How fast can you see what is happening? How fast can you predict what is about to happen? How fast can you use previous knowledge, hindsight data to predict the future? This is only possible with the aid of big data and data analytics. And how it relates to procurement is the fact that we are dealing with a lot of data. You're dealing with transactions. So you're dealing with requests. The organization, I don't know how large it could be, but my organization is large enough that an organization can make one request and it is being duplicated somewhere, but there's no way you can know this by merely looking at the details. But with data analytics, it can trigger you. Of course, let me also make this clear. When we say big data and data analytics, it's not like it's going to be one platform on its own, right? It's going to be embedded on this platform. That is why I mentioned unified source to pay platform. So when you're going for a tool, do not go for the one that doesn't have the capability to carry out big data analytics. So all these are already embedded in the unified platform that you should go for, which is the platform of the future. All that is needed is for you to be skilled to be able to, first of all, aggregate the data. You should be able to analyze the data. You should be able to interpret the data and make sense out of it. So as a procurement person, organizations are turning to us for decisions around how they invest their money. We should be able to use data rather than now using intuition to be able to provide the appropriate insights. And most importantly, data now is needed for your machine learning, which is the thing that can tell you, like predicting what can happen. It will depend on the kind of data that you're generating. And you need the skills mainly to be able to analyze and interpret the data. So the tools that are aggregating the data are already there. So you don't really need to do anything. That's the truth. It's already embedded in most of these platforms, but the data will be looking at you. You should be able to now make sense out of it and use it to advise the organization in taking decisions. And of course, even in negotiation, there are a couple of negotiations that I've seen how data made a change, right? Because you have the right data, you were able to, have conversation with respect to commercial evaluation, because you can look at an organization and say, look, in the past 3 years, we have issued you 42 POs worth 700 million, and you have 70% of our spend in this area. You're trying to make the organization know that, look, you are one of our key players. We are giving you a lot. Therefore, we now need a better bargain from you. And starting conversations in negotiations like that have been proven to change the atmosphere. Rather than just saying, look, give me 20% discount. No basis for 20% discount. You can start your conversation relying on credible data. And this is one of the roles that big data and data analytics can play. And these platforms are there for you, but you need to have the skill to be able to carry out the analysis itself and interpret them as well. So that is the correlation with transformation and then with procurement. So as you are transforming your procurement process, you need data. Remember that you're going to conduct some maturity assessment. There will be data that will come out from that assessment. For example, you need to know how many requisitions do you generate, how many sales orders do you receive, how often do you refill your warehouse, what is your inventory turnaround time, what is your waiting time. For example, if you are in outbound logistics, how long does your truck wait before they get loaded? Are you making optimal use of those trucks? In journey management, for example, if you're taking a goods straight to Onitsha, do you need the same truck to take a goods to Asaba, for example? Do you need to maybe stop over in Benin and do some delivery instead of using multiple trucks? So there are a lot of decisions that data is driving that before now, people just depend on their intuition and the best of their thinking. And we are limited by our thinking. And data is limitless, actually, in terms of driving decisions. So that's basically, and it's a whole topic on its own, talking about how to use data to drive procurement transformation.
Thank you.
I hope I've been able to touch the surface.
Yeah, actually, you were able to. I don't need to add any other thing to what you have said. You actually hit the nail on the head there concerning the blockchain technology and big data analytics. And talking about a follow-up discussion, I think that might be an area we could look into. That is the role of big data analytics in digital in procurement transformation, because I know digital transformation itself is really a huge topic, but maybe we could talk about the procurement analytics aspects of it and how that ties into procurement transformation. So thanks all guys. I think we've done 30 minutes over the scheduled time. But we do not have any other question as we speak. So I think we can adjourn as it is. But thank you all guys for making it today. It's a Saturday. I guess everybody would like to just, take the day off to rest and, have time with your family, but you still made it here all the same. And I really appreciate your time, Ifeanyi, for, being supportive of what we are doing at Serial Projects. I mean, the moment I talked about, this particular session, you're ready, and I really appreciated that, because I know you'll be busy. Probably you'd like to be with your family today, but you set all that aside to make this happen since the day we started talking. I really appreciate that. And definitely there will be a follow-up to this. Depends on your availability and the demand from the folks who would like to really be knowledgeable and to know the skills. I was gonna have a question about the upskilling, but I think you already addressed this. Like, okay, if somebody wants to go into digital procurement, what are those skills the specific skills that they would need to have? I guess big data analytics is one of them. That would be pretty much a very huge one aspects of it. Because business process reengineering, that will also be another one. But if you have anything to add to that, you can go for it. For now, I don't think I have any other thing to say. If you like to leave that for any other day, that's also good. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right, thanks. I appreciate everyone. Thanks for the question, and thanks for listening in. And I hope we all stay safe wherever we are.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you,
guys.
Thank you, fine. Thank you, Abiodun.
You're all welcome.
Yeah. All right.
Bye for now.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, bye.
All right, bye everyone. Bye-bye.